How do you think the legalization or the consideration of legalization of psychedelics, is that anything that the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association is looking at, or at least is listening to? Because I know that similar, or not too unlike cannabis, there is kind of a contrary thinking, or you could think it's contrary thinking. On the one hand, people having traditional medicinal relationship with the plant medicine, whatever it is. On the other hand, there's this commercial um, opportunity, economic development. And I'm wondering if you're seeing what you're seeing there for other more hallucinogenic plant medicine that's out there now. People talking about peyote and psilocybin. And
It's really interesting because there are some tribes that are revising their codes, and they are incorporating sacramental use of other plant medicines. I have yet to see a robust tribal code that actually references cannabis use sacramentally.
mm,
But with that being said, we have been pulled into it because there's organizations that are out there trying to open up medicines for all, and that's a slippery slope, especially for our organization. We don't speak out on behalf of other plant medicines, especially those that are already protected. Like, there are organized groups out there trying to open up peyote use to all, and we're like, no, that's an existing protected medicine for a very specific group under the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. And so that's, I think, another area where tribes in cannabis have never actually had a crossroads. The current or existing legal argument for sacramental use for cannabis under American Indian Religious Freedom tenants, they actually don't even the case law and the decision that was made did not even actually align with the issues or the facts at hand in the case. And so the judge reached really, really hard to come up with the decision to exclude cannabis use. But it was a Rastafari community that actually brought this forward. It was not an indigenous community from here that has the historical ethnobotanical record of cannabis use here, as well as what I think is really, really fascinating is, looking beyond 1492 and looking at even some of the post-contact narratives and firsthand accounts. The British literature is a gold mine for Indigenous communities. There's a lot of correspondences about the way of life, for Indigenous peoples here during that contact period. And I think that's where, the Eastern tribes really have a strong foothold. And then, there's all of the hundreds of years of, westward invasion and expansion. My people were not contacted until 1805 by the Lewis and Clark expedition in Nez Perce territory. But, they definitely document the sacramental and as well as recreational use of smoking plants. And, so we've got that baseline record. And then from there, it goes on to, contemporary, use and record. And so I think that we really are in uncharted territory, legally speaking, with the plant, where we've never really had our day in court. You know what I mean?